Good evening. This is a meeting of the Hampden Selectboard and Board of Health being held in the Townhouse on June 24th, 2025 at 6 p.m. This meeting is being conducted in person and remotely using video conferencing technology. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is anyone recording the meeting other than ourselves? Seeing none. Anyway, no, okay. I'd like to, on behalf of the Select Board and the members of the town administration, I'd like to congratulate Eric Vanderleeden for being elected to the Select Board. And he's here this evening, and welcome, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think you'll find it
Congratulations. Thank you.
I think you'll find it rewarding, time-consuming, tiring, rewarding, but you'll enjoy it. You know, it's helping your neighbors and friends and in town. It's an important job, and the people in town, I have found, have always appreciated. Even if they disagree with us at times, they always appreciate that someone's out there at least trying to do the right thing for the town.
No one's throwing things at us anymore, so I think that's
Not yet.
true. We had that bear in your backyard.
I had the bear.
Yeah.
Minutes of June 9th.
Mr. Chairman, I looked over these minutes. I thought the font and the spacing looked good, and the subject was well reported. I'd move for approval.
I'll second that because you weren't here. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the June 9th executive session.
I think so we have not completed this at this point, correct? We're waiting for them to come back to us?
Correct.
Okay, motion approval without release at this point.
We need to talk about
Second.
things.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Eric, typically, on the executive session ones, we can motion to release, approve, or approve without release. If it's something that's still going on currently, you know, rather than tip our hand, we'll wait until the whole thing's over, and then the chair will schedule once a year, typically
Yeah,
done,
well, once a year,
to review all and see if any need to be released at that point.
no release it. The next item on our agenda is traditionally after an election, we reorganize the board. And the next item is reorganization, so I'll turn it over to the town administrator to conduct the reorganization.
Thank you. All right, so you elect chair, vice chair, and clerk, or do you not do the clerk?
We don't
We don't do the
vice
clerk.
chair
Clerk,
the
so you
clerk.
just do chair,
Or the
vice chair?
vice
Here's
chair.
some cookies.
Oh,
We
thanks.
do chair and the chair of the Board of Health.
Mr. Chair. So is there a motion to elect a chairperson for the Hampden Select Board?
I move we elect John Flynn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Other than to say it was traditional.
Yeah.
John's had a lot of experience being chairman, and traditionally, the person who's up for election the next time is the chairman for that year,
Right. and,
preceding the election.
Eric, just the last, quick note, the last 3 years, we split it down like 18 months apiece because Craig did not want to be chair.
Okay,
So we kind of took his year and
divided it.
did 6 months each, so.
good, good.
All right, we can call for a vote then? Do you roll call or just normal?
Just normal.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Wow. Take his cookie back.
all right.
Motion carries 3-0. You want me to do the Board of Health, or would you like to take it from here?
Yes, you're the chairman, go ahead.
Like typically the second person, or rather than the newly appointed person, newly elected person, serves as the Board of Health Chair. And that would be Don Davenport, so I would enter Don Davenport's name into nomination for Chairman of the Board of Health.
Second.
All those in favor, Don, do you accept that nomination?
I do. A
Discount on the transfer
Wait
tax
a
and
minute,
everything?
Wait a
the
minute.
last time I said I do, I got myself into something. Yes, I
This
do.
will be much more rewarding, I'm sure. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, you wanna take up the rest of the meeting, wanna switch?
No, we'll switch next time. God, I remember back before, we used to have, we would take our drawers with us and move to another spot. Because we see, back then, we would keep so much secret stuff, before we had computers, everything we had was in the drawer.
Your whole life was in there.
Are we taking this table with us to Thorn Burgess?
Yes. So we can get it out.
Are we using it in our office?
Just assemble.
Let me rephrase that. Would you like it?
Yeah.
I think some office would appreciate this table.
That's it.
I do watch some other selectmen's meetings on YouTube. Maybe I need more of a life, but I watch a lot of other towns. And what we've been doing with the public thing, and Don, you've been to other places, maybe even the East Long Meadow one, where it's a little more of the, not angled, not semicircle, but that type of thing. I think when Brian gets into setting up our meeting room,
Oh, I see what you mean.
that would be the thing.
Cause you're more talking to,
I'm talking about the meeting room
Right,
area,
yeah.
here.
yeah,
And I think this would be more of a workspace in here, but it's all about inclusivity when we get into that meeting room, so people don't feel they're being talked to, they're being talked with. So. Next on the agenda, we have an update on the police chief search from a town administrator.
Thank you. So, Chief Trombley's retiring July 17th. And we need
You
to
didn't
start,
talk him out of it?
nope, couldn't talk him out of it. We need to start the process of filling that vacancy or that anticipated vacancy. So I think the decisions that need to be made are whether we're going to use really, how are we gonna go about the search, right? Are we gonna hire a search firm to really take on the whole process? Soup to nuts, meaning they'll advertise, they'll collect resumes, they'll collect cover letters, they'll collect applications. And then they'll present those to the board. They'll run a police chief assessment similar to the sergeant's, the sergeant's assessment. And then they'll come to the board with their recommendations of the candidates.
You had two firms you suggested last time, and a couple of costs associated with both.
Yep, Scott, those were recommendations from Chief Trombley as to search firms that are typically used in Massachusetts. The other option is to really just have one of these search firms run the police chief assessment. Town staff would do the front end of that work, meaning the advertising, the collecting resumes, really all of the administrative work. Contacting applicants, running the job advertisements. And that's assuming that we're gonna be looking for both internal and external candidates as part of the search.
That was kind of a question I think we talked about before, were we gonna post this internally or make it external from the get-go? And I think, like you say, there is a blend would be the appropriate, that we're hire a firm that knows that they can do both. They can look external, but no internal candidate is out of the mix as well.
Makes sense.
And move on from there. Which firm, in your opinion, had a better resume?
I'm not sure I could pick one over the other.
Well,
I think we could have both of them come in and talk to the board if
Okay.
we wanted to do that. I think that would be a wise move to,
it should almost
Get a
be like,
sense of-
like what we did for the town administrator search,
Yeah.
where
how much work is involved for the staff to do the, initial administrative stuff?
I mean, we have the job descriptions, we could put together a job advertisement within probably a couple hours, right? I think there's stuff out there. I think it's the back and forth with candidates that will take a lot of time. We don't really have the connections to reach out, to actively reach out to the policing community and contact people through connections. I think that's where we would miss out. Running the job advertisements is the easy part, and getting emails, getting resumes emailed in, that's easy, but if we want to be proactive about it, I don't think town staff are the people to do it. No offense to anybody, including myself, but
Right.
we lack those connections into the policing community.
So I think we should, like you say, interview both places. We may want to set parameters. We have like, we're looking for candidates no further than 25, 50 miles, something like that. And we don't want to get into, I think, Don, we saw this before,
Yeah,
where a
national.
couple of people from Newton applied for something, and that was, you knew practically that wasn't gonna happen. Right, so.
And we have seen, the board has seen this, there has been some local interest already, unsolicited interest
Yeah.
Fine,
in the position.
sure.
Do you think we can get these guys in here next week? I mean, I'm just thinking of timeline here, you know, where chief is leaving the 17th, we gotta do an interim thing.
Yeah.
We don't wanna drag that on
I mean, we're coming
forever.
up the holiday weekend, and that might be a thing for, you know, are people taking the week of the first off as a long,
I mean, if they,
school is out and they're hitting the road?
even if they come in on Zoom, is that?
That's fine, sure.
Yeah,
And
they could,
a lot of times it's not too big of a lift.
yeah, we could do it on Zoom, you know, I just think we need to move on it, because you gotta figure, you got time. He's leaving the 17th, so we have to have an interim, but then you got a couple of weeks to get resumes, a couple of weeks to do interviews, a couple of weeks to make a decision, you know, you're into the fall.
And the thing is also, Chief said he's taking vacation as well.
Right, Chief is
He's willing to act as interim, but then he's leaving,
Right.
right?
You want me to see if I can get? if we
Try
can
him
get
for the
this?
7th, yeah.
7th?
No, I'm sorry, try him for the 30th, but you had talked about setting up the financial thing. Was that the 30th, or we pushed it?
That's
They
the
couldn't
7th,
come.
because they couldn't come.
Right, yeah.
Just a meeting with the advisory committee at the end of the year for transfers that departments that may have exceeded their budget by a little bit, then they can change within the lines of their budget, so.
Right. For instance, highway might be short in utilities, but their maintenance budget has the extra $100, so you vote to just move it back and forth. Yeah. If that fails, there are the reserve fund, which has voted $25,000 as a emergency fund, basically. But that has to be approved by the advisory committee. We can submit a request to them, but they have to say yes or no. Okay. And then many times, the selectmen will just donate their salaries to pay any shortages.
The newest select board member,
I don't
right?
remember,
Really?
We take it out without asking. It's short of a couple dollars.
I was wondering what.
What happened? You have to call it home. So you'll get back to us on that. So at this point, are we going to discuss the interim thing?
Yeah.
Just like you talked about with the timeline, knowing that's probably not gonna happen. We have we have a proposal from the chief now for what he would do the job for. I did ask Brian, it's certainly within our budgeted amount for chief. It's less than he was getting on a weekly basis, so it doesn't require any additional expenditure. I think it's a prudent thing to do.
So you're saying month to month, no longer than Labor Day, so it's a timeline there,
Oh, it's-
24 hours a week.
Mhm.
$75 per hour. And of course, you're not gonna work on his vacation, because he's already got that
Right,
scheduled, right? What's the liability indemnification coverage?
He just wants to make sure he's covered. He talked about some of the statutes, some of the liability statutes or indemnification statutes. He just wants to have what's in the existing contract carried over into the interim,
Right, okay.
into the temporary contract.
That's under our town insurance policy, right?
Yeah. So this would be subject to this could be subject to a contract negotiation, or a separate contract. And I would recommend that if this is the way we wanna go, we would ask the chief to, the chief and I to work on a draft
So-
Which I
agreement.
believe is what we did before,
What we did when we did the,
searching for
Yeah.
Scott. Yeah, we had a contract with that guy who came
Right.
in. Marchese? Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
Marchese.
Marchese,
Yeah.
And obviously,
Alright.
there's other options as well. I believe we had the email to the board from someone who was interested in possibly an interim position, or,
Well, I think, like you
If
said,
it
we've
was
heard from
active.
3 or 4 people already that
Yeah.
expressed interest, so
Yeah.
we forward those names to whichever firm we pick and let them know. I think, like you say, we have a goal, we've got to get somebody in place by.
Labor Day.
Yeah, end of August, yeah.
Yeah. Did the chief talk to you about appointing the sergeant and the detective and another officer?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Right now, July 7th, he'd like to
Bring in
bring in the sergeant,
Okay,
well, the next sergeant for appointment July 7th.
which will open up the detective spot.
We'll open up the detective spot.
And we still have the IT question.
we still have the IT question.
Yes.
That could be, and just to segue into, we talked before about, we need, I think, a little more interaction with dispatch. And we talked before about, is there an opportunity, as we discussed with them, to talk about, I know it's in the contract, but is there something could be done with their IT staff as well? I think what we heard before from the prior IT person, and he threw out a percentage, but I'm gonna say it was pretty darn high about how much of it's done remotely.
Yeah,
You know, which we see in our, I think in our business life now, I call my people, like, can you look at this computer? Doing it now. Thank you. How long have you been doing that? But,
yeah, right.
right. So I think there's an opportunity maybe to get involved with the dispatch people and offload some of that. If it involves opening the contract, well, we have that request already.
We got the request already,
Yeah, the regional dispatch agreement with the grant, FY26 is the last year.
yeah, last year.
So I think we need to, as I said,
We
I
gotta
don't think we've
negotiate
been
that.
in the loop as much as we should be per the agreement. You know, there's supposed to be quarterly meetings, and I don't recall getting any reports from the people who attend those, the chief, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, like I said, now that we have to talk about, hey, how much it's gonna cost next year, now's the time. And we talked before, since you brought up Belchertown, it must have changed the dynamics somehow. You know, your costs are different, so we need to look and see what it does for Hampden. The service has been good. I don't know, your experience has been, Eric, you know, hearing from people. But I think people say, look, you call them, the people know Hampden, you know. I know some of the dispatchers personally, you know, like, oh, I'm on, you know, Spring Meadow. Oh, yeah, you're third house down, you know, right. So that part, and we have a mobile police force. It is what it is. They shouldn't be at the station. They should be out and about and around, and they are. Still haven't found the person taking that tree from the bank yet, but still.
Right.
Oh, the other part, John, you'd mentioned in the past about the TWV camera monitoring. As part of
as
that
well.
also.
Right, right. And not just, I think, you know, we expand that, especially with the facilities person coming along.
You know, maybe.
Some type, I mean, you know, we use, I think, Welldine for quite a bit of our security part there, but, you know, should there be a camera at the, we spend a lot of money upgrading the highway department. We have concerns about, especially if the town hall is moving, less eyes on the Academy Hall, and that might be a concern, you know. So I think, you know, these are all questions to be brought in with them. You know, what type of security upgrade can we expect from regional dispatch?
Okay, gonna put regional dispatch on. What about, we talking about, okay, dispatch officer, okay, I got it, all right.
Okay, so you're taking care of reaching out to the firm, setting up times. Okay,
We'll try to get them at the next meeting.
right.
And you want me to work with
Chief,
John Lee?
on
On a
the
little interim
contract,
contract thing.
yeah. All right,
And quickly on the time thing, you're off in, not until August, right?
July.
It is July,
Yeah.
end of July,
Middle.
so,
I would check with the boss.
no, but
The week of the 13th.
Oh, thanks,
I
Mark.
know that because I have jury duty that week.
really?
work the week of 13th, you're out of the country, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody will be house sitting though, so the house won't be empty, don't worry.
Wasn't even a concern, sorry. We're on vacation, so you're out the week of the 13th, basically. All right.
We'll see if they let me back into the country.
On those people, you'll be all right.
Where are you going?
Turks and Caicos.
Oh, nice.
Stop at the Caymans, visit your money for you if you'd like.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check on that.
If I gave you a bag, could you?
Eric, this is how it goes. Just wanna let you know.
That's good.
All right,
You're in
good.
good company.
Yeah, no motions, just decisions.
That's
It
it.
just happens. If you object to anything, you just gotta yell.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really gotta get your time in there. So that might be a bit of an impact, obviously, when you're setting these things up, we want you to be here for that. So if we're talking about this thing for Scott to sign, we'd like to have our meeting at the 7th, I would think, while you're here.
2 weeks, yeah, I think
If we,
it's 2 weeks. They should
quickly,
be able to get
Eric,
something in 2
what's your schedule? If we ever had to move a meeting to Tuesday or something like that, do you have any family thing that might interfere or? Because we're big about family, we know family.
Usually pretty flexible
Okay.
like that during the week typically. Yeah, I'm usually pretty flexible. Just we have summer vacations as well.
Yeah,
That's,
sure,
you know.
Anything coming up that we should think about?
So I'm on vacation the week, so the 4th of July and the whole following, so taking the 4th off and the whole following week. So the 7th through the
Away or just off?
away,
And that's what we're talking about on the chief thing, so you possibly might not be here on the 7th?
correct.
Would you be able to zoom in?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay, great,
Yes,
then that's
yeah, no, I
fine.
can zoom
Oh,
in.
okay, great, that's
Yes,
good, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Full internet access.
Yep.
Dale, on occasion, there have been times when, we gotta all meet down here for 10 o'clock, it might be a timing thing because we have a 48-hour notice. Is it in-person thing tough for you, because I'm not quite sure what you do, but, or is it you're able to zoom and look, I can almost catch a quick zoom on my phone if I need to?
Typically, I'm able to Zoom.
Okay.
It's tougher for me to get away because the type of work I do, being a hands-on radiation therapy engineer and clinical engineering, I kind of have to be there to be able to work on the machines as the problems happen. So, but I usually can typically probably Zoom for something like that. But
Okay.
again, there might be a time where you just.
And you'd have notice, we're not talking as 15 minutes,
Sure.
it's,
Yeah,
Thursday, hey, we gotta meet Monday at 10, can you be there,
yeah.
something like
Usually,
that?
yeah, I can make things work.
With that
like
much notice,
Yes.
okay, great, good to know, thank you. All right, facilities. You hire him, when's he start?
No, we're short money, of course. We had requested 70,000,
Yeah.
and we have 40,000. So that, with that amount of money, then we would be likely be unable to hire a full-time facilities manager. And even the 70,000 may be a little, would be short, is probably the low end of a facilities salary.
And the other thing is that it really doesn't give any expense account to go with it either. It's not just, that's the salary part, well, what's he doing with it, drawing from all the different lines that work with those places? It seems like there still should be another pot of money to go with it, 20,000 on top. Is you thought we can go back, did we thought about,
Ceiling tiles, all the amenities that go into fixing things up.
Right, well, something comes up.
Yeah, all the-
and people are, slush fund, it's not a slush fund, it's like, you don't know.
Yeah.
Like you say, I was 2 months into it, that pipe broke, I had to fix it, and nobody knew that, you can't plan for that stuff, you just have to have liquidity to be able to do it.
Absolutely, I agree.
Don, I think you had talked before, is this something that we're gonna reassess in the fall and see if we could
Yeah, I think we should bring it,
bring it back up a bit at that point?
yeah, I think we need to. We're gonna have Thornton Burgess, we're gonna have, the police department, the senior center. I mean, I assume his job is to look at all these buildings, right? And do things that if
Well-
they need done, if they could get it done.
Academy Hall, we've
Academy
talked
Hall.
before that, that heating, that electric bill,
Yeah,
heating bill's
yeah.
going through the roof, somebody's gotta look at that. And somebody still has to come back to this building and make sure
Sure,
it's
it's
functioning, it's
functional.
safe,
Yeah,
right? So,
I think we need to put that on the town meeting.
Yeah,
What are
but,
we doing in the interim now to get the
Right.
CWB ready?
right,
right, so,
will a person be hired on a hope? Yeah, we're gonna get more money for you later. And you might say,
I think we get two different types of candidates if we have a part-time position or we have a full-time position.
well, I think what we're saying is here, advertise it as a full-time position that we promise to increase the funding for later. Like right now, 40,000 would pay full-time through January
6
or
months,
something like
right?
that,
6 months.
Yeah,
and you need that person full-time, especially when you're ramping up Thornton Burgess.
right, that's, I guess I'm of two minds of this,
Because that
there's
would
gonna be a
offer-
lot of work initially.
Right, because that's gonna offload some of what you've been doing by going over and had somebody there, and I think we're all thinking about, there's obviously some candidates that would give you a leg up because of their familiarity with what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So here's one of my concerns is that there's gonna be initially there's gonna be a lot of work at TWB. But then once we're over there and we're moved in and we're set, that initial rush of work is gonna slow down. And that's why when we initially thought about the position, it was kind of a split, right? It was facilities, maybe about half, and then I guess what I thought was sort of maintenance and custodial work, to fill in some of those hours as well. Yeah, we have a lot of buildings, they're big, but they don't break all the time. Once you get a capital plan, you know, there's gonna be working with contractors and getting contractors in and fixing things as they break, or bringing contractors
You
in.
think it's more of a 75-25, 70 by TWB, 25 the rest of the buildings, in that type of thing?
Initially, ideally, it would be,
Almost 90-10?
yeah, right, because we wanna really make a big push over there to get that ready. And then afterwards, I think
Well, you're fortunate that you haven't done, so it's almost, between the moving money, the previous money, the new money, it's almost 300,000, 280, something like that at this point. So.
yeah. In a lot of the work over there, as I had mentioned before, you know, the building's in pretty good shape. Herb Foley has done a great job keeping that building running mechanically and structurally and otherwise. And a lot of it is, you know, replacing the lights that are burnt out, replacing the ceiling tiles that are stained or that the kids painted. You know, we need some of the flooring replaced. Obviously, painting helps to brighten up the space, replace light bulbs, those types of things. That's really the initial push that we need.
Somebody asked me, what are we doing for, and they almost refer to it as cosmetic things. We talk about the lockers and things like that. And, you know, where's that A, B, C? And I said, hey, to tell you, to me, it's C on the list. Because it's not integral to the function. Yeah, maybe you don't want them in a town hall, but it doesn't hurt anything that's happening there, and why spend the money something else? And maybe you never get it done, but it does nothing to make the town hall better or worse. So those are the things we have to like choose, you know. To me, access points, somebody asked me about going to the library on a Saturday, they're coming in the main entrance. I said, well, we haven't decided yet, because if you come in the main entrance, the hallway in front of you is open with no doors, and it doesn't direct you to flow that way. So maybe it's the side entrance, maybe you talked about that. It's the north entrance, and the other doors are electronically controlled and keeps you in the library area. And then you got parks that could be running programs, and they want that back corridor,
Right.
you know, but keep the library off, you know, sectioned off as well. So it's a bit of a,
There's also some HVAC kind of stuff, right? Some cooling,
And then,
HVAC.
Right.
by next spring, we're really gonna need to get cooling figured out there,
Straightened out, yeah.
installed and straightened out there.
I mean, do you think we're looking at mini splits for most of it, or is there an opportunity to get some ductwork in there?
I don't know that there's a lot of space for ductwork.
Yeah,
Maybe there is, I don't really know.
it's almost like getting a Hurley David in there to look at the
See it,
good
quote
quote.
around and see if there's the open space to be able to put a bigger unit, that way maybe conserve cost, but split up zones.
But I mean,
You
that's
have
where
to,
you
you have
bring,
to have somebody to do an assessment.
you bring it like a Hurley David
Right.
and exactly
Yeah.
do an assessment. Or maybe some other firm that did HVAC.
Yeah, I mean, I did walk an energy contractor through there and, they were looking at mini splits. Mini splits and then changing out the lights. Mini splits are really expensive, right?
They've come down pretty good. We do training equipment, mini splits, mostly Daikin, some Fuji, some Mitzi, and I have to tell you, they have really dropped in price from when, about almost 10 years ago, and looking at 20 a piece back then. Now you can get a mini split for in the, you know, $2,000 to $3,000 range, you know, that'll do a room, so. You know, we put these in, they were incredibly expensive for these
In
rooms.
a day like today, I thank you for doing, I said in a day like today, I thank you for doing.
So,
You did have
All
one
right,
comment.
so-
You have one comment from Thad. Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
is he volunteering to serve unpaid?
It's
as-
chatted, it's on the chat.
Go ahead, what's you got to say?
Busy until it's
Can
all
you hear
ready.
me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, now we lost your chat. Temp hire the custodial?
Yeah, until, temp hire
Temp
custodial,
hire
until,
custodial work and find some local contractor handyman. The guy will be super busy until it's all ready.
Yeah, possibly. Anyhow, so, but right now, Brian's been honchoing that and it taken away from his full-time job, if you will. And if he had a secondary person underneath him that he could delegate to, who's also familiar with it, that would be a help. Because right now, if he's spending 3 hours a day at TWB, he's not searching for a grant to do something else.
To fix up to you.
Right, basically. So I think that person there,
Exactly, and you would want someone, I've done that sort of stuff in the past in a number of facilities, you know.
we moved to a
Going
point.
into place to start with is a lot of work. But once the work's in place, it's gonna be a part-time job. But finding
could-
that person to do that,
But we're now, so we feel we haven't been doing a bang-up job of facility management, you know, for all the other places we talked about. You know, obviously, we have maintenance things to do with the senior center. Is there
oh, yeah.
things done along the way that might have helped if we had a full-time person?
So does Mark,
So-
sorry to interrupt, so does Mark like at the highway department, he's got some pretty handy, hands-on guys. Is there almost like a hybrid guy that might be able to?
We looked at one of their guys before for it, but again, same thing, you know, he's got more and more things to do. And he hasn't increased from the 4 people he had back when Dana, when,
Right.
or
Challenge.
Garish, whatever, you know, Homer, you know, that department hasn't increased,
Understood.
you know,
So
so,
they don't have the capacity.
yeah. If you look at the growth in the town government, and we've added some positions in government, but the actual personnel that, if you will, boots on the ground, hasn't really expanded that much. So, still 3 select board members. Got this guy over here, but those are good points, good points. What's, so, what you talked about, you know, what we wanna get done here, and with your week there, what's your next thought about coming in with something about this? Is this something you'd have ready to discuss on the 7th? A job description, a way to advertise, a
Which position are we talking about?
facilities?
facilities.
Full-time?
I think
Full-time.
we tell them it's full-time, right?
Yeah, we have we had the draft job description created when we were proposing it to advisory, so that's pretty much all set, and then doing the job advertisement, job posting would be pretty quick.
Okay. This is something that we would take care of, the interviews and whatever, we don't need a firm to
No,
help
we
us
don't need
with
a
this,
firm.
you know, we know it better. So,
So I think the expectation of, and this is where I struggle a little bit, so the facilities coordinator, is the expectation the facilities coordinator from, let's say, July through October, that they're gonna be changing ceiling tiles and light bulbs and doing all that kind of stuff and helping us move in? Or is it more of like a higher level supervisor position, and we still need to hire people to do the actual work?
I see both, I see that person working with you, offloading you from going over there, looking at the thing, meeting with Entree, meeting with Weldon, meeting with the dispatch center. You know, that's your point person over there getting that done. So you're here,
Yeah.
rather than somebody going, where's Brian? He's
New
over
office,
across
I
the
told them new
closet
offices.
at the,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
And then they
they
can
need
deal.
to, then they need to handle whatever they can handle. If they need to, if they got 50 rooms of tiles they have to do, then obviously you wanna hire someone, cause they'll get it done in a day, but if they can do 3 rooms, you know, or.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, we have 2 repair projects coming on, wouldn't they also then? We have now the repair work that's gonna be scheduled at the senior center.
Right.
Wouldn't that person also be helping with that?
Yeah,
Almost like, what's the word I'm looking for? OMB,
yeah,
basically on the
Yeah.
job, yeah. And obviously not now, but at some point, that'll be your potential person to help with the fire station part as well. Yeah.
Okay, so full-time facilities
Yeah,
coordinator.
full-time.
I think when we meet with the people, we tell them, this is what you're gonna do if you get hired, this is what you're doing for the next 3 months.
Yeah, right,
You know,
focus on that, yeah.
And after that, you'll be doing something different.
Staying busy. Pike Hamden.
Facilities coordinator. What should you say, for the 30th or for the 7th?
I'd like it as soon as possible,
As soon as
but yeah, if you can't do the 30th, then the 7th.
Hi Camden, the town submitted a block grant application to the Gaming Commission, the Community Mitigation Fund. And the town was awarded that for $75,000. So that project will focus on marketing the town's, well, really marketing and branding the town's outdoor recreational assets. So we're talking, but a lot of it will be focused on hiking, Hike Hamden, right? Minnetonka Mountain, Goat Rock, Laughing Brook. What other ones am I missing? I just had a meeting with Opakam Land
Is that
Trust.
the people at the top of Chapin/South that were looking at that
Yeah,
property?
yeah,
more?
yeah. Opakam Land Trust, they're trying to purchase a parcel of land. So it's 75,000. When we had submitted the scope of work to the Gaming Commission, we were trying to focus on bringing together Mass Audubon, Minnetonka Land Trust, the town, and Opakam would be a new one, putting together a stakeholder group. And we'd really be focusing on trying to market everything as a single brand, like whether it's Hike Hamden or something, or whatever it is, a single brand. So we would have a unified design concept for a website. This would also pay for a website. It would signage for the different parcels.
Some improvement on the trails.
Yeah, some improvements.
And the theory behind it is that to bring people into town, we could help some of our businesses. And not only that, you know, people come to town, they see what a beautiful town it is and everything, particularly if they have kids. And, you know, they might wanna move here. And they can pay real estate taxes.
Yeah, one of the theories of economic development, I'll say economic development, that has a bad connotation, but how do we support our local economy is it's unlikely we're gonna get these large game changer facilities in here where there's gonna be thousands of jobs and millions of dollars of tax revenue. It's gonna be supporting our local businesses by getting people into town who are gonna go to the restaurants, who are gonna go to the stores and support our local businesses. And if their business can grow, maybe they get larger and they grow. That's sort of the idea of, I think that's what the master plan committee was talking about, how we're gonna support our local economy.
So what's our next step?
So I don't have the grant contract yet. I believe that was I think they promised in 2 weeks, but they have staffing problems there now. So we would convene a meeting with the stakeholders, the ones I just mentioned. Then we'll have a first meeting and talk about the scope of the grant, make sure they're all on board, and then we'll go from there. We'll eventually have to put out an RFP for the marketing and branding, because I think that's gonna trip a threshold. And then we'll go from there.
Okay. Basically, when you get back, this is something after you get back?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
schedule it now, but it'll probably after.
Okay. Great, Don, you've been pushing that for a while, so.
I have been.
You're gonna be the leader, you and your staff just going out and Moses, leading the way. I won't say
Now, we
you're
have to
looking-
cross this brook, but don't worry.
Oh,
In the scantic parts.
okay, a little much there, a little much. Okay, liaison assignment. Eric, this is typically, I don't know if you're familiar with it, we have obviously many boards and committees in town, and we all take like 3 or 4 of them and say, okay, hey, I'll go to this meeting and I'll report back to the board, stuff like that. And I don't know, I'll throw it to you, are there any near and dear to your heart, you say, I've always worked with Parks Rec, and I'm happy to, stop in and check and report back to board about things they have or something like that.
Not in particular, I mean, I'm open to whatever assignments you want me to do, so.
Okay. We have a typical list, and it didn't give it to us typically, like I take planning, because I was on planning board for 16 years,
makes sense.
so,
Yeah,
yeah, and, they haven't thrown me out yet. Don's pretty familiar with the school, so he's been the school liaison for their planning committees and stuff like that, you know.
In conservation and advisory.
Conservation and advisory, because he's all about conserving and
And
stuff.
ZBA, right?
Oh,
Conservation.
ZBA, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I know some folks in the conservation.
Yeah.
I do conversation, what's it called, conservation? Okay.
Conservation. And I do, COA, that was a, you know, COA type thing.
Council on Aging, right? What else we
I was
got?
gonna talk to you about the housing authority, but I also don't wanna get into a thing where, you know, I know your sister's on it and stuff like
Right.
that. Here? Oh, no, you can't, cause it's like Thursday morning, you couldn't go, yeah. But it's been Don, the Thursday morning thing with my mother-in-law situation, it's been tough for me to get there. Do you want housing authority?
Yeah, I'll do it. And
Okay.
if there's a problem, I don't know, if I have to deal with my sister, I have to deal with my sister.
So you still want it?
Okay, so you're gonna do conservation.
No,
I got advisory, ZBA, housing, and the school thing, school
all right,
planning
so I
thing.
got planning, council on aging, I'm already on the CPA committee as an
Right.
at-large member,
Right,
so.
Well, do we
Typically,
only
we
go
have liaison, some of the ones we pushed over to Brian that we used to have before, like you handled the police,
Yeah.
the fire directly.
keep those with Brian, right? What about, do we do cemetery, do we do cemetery? I don't think so, or library? No, we don't do those two,
No, I think Brian wants to do library, you said,
yeah.
yeah,
They'd be right next door.
Oh,
right, exactly. Yeah. Any other ones we think of, we'll just
yeah,
come up. I mean,
Oh,
we
you
haven't
got
talked
that?
about,
you got that list? All right, thank you.
who had conservation, you took
You
conservation.
took conservation, I'm gonna go back to housing.
Actually asking you, where do we stand with fiber?
So basically, I just actually spoke to Brian about this earlier. So back in the day, we had originally wanted to bring, fiber optic in, as you know. And so we started to kind of get to the point where with our board that we kind of went with a particular vendor, and then Spectrum kind of stepped up, and I think Brian reached out to Brian and said, hey, you know what? We're gonna bring in a hybrid solution to Hampden. This was last year. And
Wolverham too as well,
and
right?
Wilbraham too as
Yeah.
well, yes, exactly. And basically said, hey, by the end of this year, 2025, we're gonna install a hybrid-based system that provides symmetrical upload and download speeds, which is basically all we were trying to accomplish
Yeah.
on the committee. So, of course, fiber optic is still superior than a hybrid system, but it is what it is. We couldn't then move forward and say, hey, we're gonna ask the residents to put this on the line to borrow all this money for a potential system if Spectrum is going to step up to the plate and give us
Free.
these free infrastructure. It just was, so the committee still exists today, but Spectrum, I think, Brian, you were saying now 2020, early 26 or late 25, maybe early 26, I think now.
You said January 2026.
January 2026, they're kind of kicked the can down the road a couple times,
Yeah.
so we didn't know, we'll see if they're gonna put their money where their mouth is in 26, but it's just, there's too much going on right now in town with money, and it's just not responsible to go forward
Well, I
with
think
that
your
just
point
yet.
100%
Unless there's
right, yeah.
unless there's some huge grants that come out of the woodwork and say, hey, we're gonna finance, 90% of their
Right, yeah.
project. I don't anticipate that's gonna happen, but
Right.
if it was something of that nature, then obviously we would probably reconvene, but
What they're talking about, is it gonna provide better service than what we get now?
that's what they're saying.
They're saying
we
that.
should be getting symmetrical upload and download speeds, where right now broadband, one of the limitations of broadband cable internet is that you have, and your upload speeds are extremely, very, very slow, and your download speeds are extremely quick. They're now saying your upload speeds will be as quick as your download speeds with this hybrid system. I'll believe it when I see it.
Well,
but it
hopefully
should
it's
be
not,
better.
hopefully it's not by dropping the downloads.
Yeah, exactly, but it should be better than what we have.
Yeah.
So, and we just couldn't move forward and, responsibly asking for that kind of money with that.
Would we be able to watch Wolverham and, you think they'll do Wolverham build out before us? Obviously, the density would be better.
I think they're kind of gonna wrap it all on one and the same from what I
Okay.
understand from what Brian indicated as well, because, from the last phone call I think you had with the Spectrum folks, they basically said they're gonna kind of group us together and just.
Have they
kind of-
done this anywhere else to this point?
Brian might have the
Yes,
answer to that one.
yes,
actually.
I can't recall exactly where, but, and they were just gonna hammer it out over the course of like two nights, overnights of like 2
Right.
weeks or something. They were
Yeah,
just
they
gonna come in
made it
with-
seem like it was gonna be.
It's that quick?
Yeah, they're just gonna come in with a crew overnights and just, I mean, it's really, they're running fiber to the node, right? So it's fiber to the,
Right.
the, fiber on the lines, right, not to the houses, so. Everything's on the poles that they're changing out.
Ribbon change.
Dad said he was notified of equipment changes by the end of July.
Huh. How?
That solves his TiVo issue.
Now, how are you notified? Because I mean, I have Charter, I didn't get any notification.
I just have them for internet currently.
Yeah, I got the cable, but I
Yeah.
still have the internet.
Yeah, I said
John?
that.
Yeah,
John, I have that TiVo and I require, these tuning adapters in order for it to work with the existing cable system. So they knew I had that equipment. So they're
Oh.
sending me replacement equipment to take the place of those, tuning adapters, which will work on my TiVo unit. So they only notified the customers that are in a situation like I was. But
well, it shows some kind of outreach, that's good.
that part of the changeover is because they're changing the front end or the head end, doing the upgrades up there for the long range project in the end of the year. So it is in the works and I should be getting those boxes any day now.
Great, good. Okay. All right, Amoresco lease, so this is pretty much closing out the 22-year journey we've had with Amoresco at the transfer station. Don, you were a young man when we started, I believe. And so solar is producing, I think you verified that, but I did talk to Steve McDonough up there, they are producing. We do have a contract in place where we get, basically it's part pilot, part taxes. Because they started the generation after the first of the year, the assessors do what's in place as of January 1st. So the next increase in our payment will be as of what's in place in January 1st, 2026. Which will bring us up to the full 145,000, I think we get it on an annual basis. Certainly, I think a pretty productive upgrade for land that wasn't doing anything. You know, the town paid $1 million to close it back in 1999 and capped the landfill at that point. And now we're gonna be getting money back that basically can be used for any other project. So they did they put in a lease area that would surround their panels with a fence. When they found out what to put the fence in, the fence had to be shifted down because it was too close on the slope and DEP wasn't happy with that, being too close to the cap. Fair enough. They moved the fence, Concom approved it, DEP approved it, the town meeting approved it, and now we need to sign the memorandum of understanding, lease change, and people who have made out great, I believe, are all lawyers. Right, Don?
They got their fees. Do we have to actually vote? We have to vote this? Or the town voted this, didn't they?
We voted to bring it to town meeting, so I think once town meeting approved it, our vote stands. But of course, we do have a new member, so I think maybe that might be
Right.
apropos. So we're looking for a motion to approve the change amendment to the lease with Amoresco up at the cross station transfer station.
So moved.
All in favor?
Right? Does just one of us have to sign this?
I
It
don't
just says
know.
landlord on it.
See them.
I think all three of you should sign.
Think all three of us will
Yeah.
sign? On both of them?
Yeah,
Under the landlord part?
yeah.
No, well,
This is your first one, Eric. I hope you've been practicing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
should I sign under by or just on town? No. We'll just sign it, they'll figure it out.
I didn't look at the whole thing, so.
Except Rose, if Rose sees it, yeah, she'll. Wanna change it?
I want to notarize it too.
Aye,
copy notarized?
She has me notarized.
I don't know.
That's the landlord, okay, landlord, so we're signing into the landlord part. Landlord. That's good, that's good. That one goes over there.
There's a lot of us that goes in there, so.
You signed this one already, right? Yeah. All right. Want this?
Wait till the calendar year, like.
Sure, yeah. Oh, where do we
Bring a
stand
stamp.
on, where do we stand on appointments and stuff like that?
I'm working on trying to get them ready for next meeting.
Okay.
All right, good.
Are you hearing from anybody that's stepping down or?
Not yet. I haven't reached out to everyone.
I did
Oh,
talk
so
with,
who got the housing? Was it Amy got the housing
Huh?
in the annual election?
in the annual election? Who got the housing? Was it Amy?
Bilodeau.
Yeah, was it?
That's
Oh, good.
what I heard.
Yeah, Bulldogs,
Yeah,
Bulldogs,
yeah,
yeah,
that's what I heard.
I heard there might be some changes on the fire department building committee. I talked with Mark Barber today, there might be some people coming on or off. So he was
Okay,
gonna
the
check with
external
me.
people or?
He didn't, he was gonna give me a list
might-
by next meeting.
That might make sense just because of, they were there for the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different mission. Now it's the.
Right, exactly. Okay, any correspondence? No. Any member report, Don?
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Eric, anything to report?
Nothing to report.
All right, good. Just a sunburn.
Yes, that's right.
Where'd you get that number?
Yeah. Short report?
Oh.
Hmm?
No.
Long report?
Couple things. There's a request for the highway union for some, negotiation dates. We had that initial meeting and thought we had agreed upon certain things and then they took it back to review and, I have requests from their union, not the union not the employee union representative, from the union, whatever their position is for some negotiation dates. I checked with our employee and they said, yes, it was a legitimate request, so. Do we wanna just put them at the end of the next meeting?
Mhm.
30th? Okay. That was easy.
What we do.
Minichog Land Trust land purchase is required. You'll remember that at the town meeting, it was
Yes.
approved to move ahead with the purchase of the property on North Road to create the connection for that, for the hiking area there. So I can reach out to Rose and we can get that started.
Great.
Or not, or I can wait, but Sherry Himmelstein has called me and just wants to obviously kick that off because they're the seller,
Right.
so.
Don, you brought this up last time and just fees. Who's paying them?
Yeah,
And I thought we came back to MLT pays Rose's time. Cause this came up the last time, yeah.
And Sherry, in the phone call that I had with Sherry, she also mentioned something similar about,
us paying it?
yeah,
A little different interpretation?
yes.
saying? Okay. All right, we can probably go back to the Olga and Tony thing and see who paid that time. That was the last transfer, right?
I thought they paid it.
I thought so too. But that was the last one.
That's the
That
last
took
one.
forever, 3 years on Walnut Road,
Right.
so.
So, we wanna move forward with,
Yeah, we gotta
Yeah, we
put
gotta
this,
get
I
done.
mean,
We
this
gotta
is
get it
yeah,
done.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
These projects that take, there was the probate one on North
Yeah.
Road, the other property, the Olga and Tony one took 3 years. These just take, nothing's easy, for this type of stuff.
second question, who from the town in the past, and maybe it's been the Conservation Commission that stepped up to do this, who's been sort of the lead board or committee in terms of this work? Cause not only is it the purchase of
It's
the
been the-
property, but it's trailhead development, it's parking lot development, there's CPA money that was appropriated in the
Most
subsequent
of the
article.
time, most of the time it's gone through Doug. Cause the CPA has pretty much always given the money and Doug's been good enough to honcho the project going forward.
Okay.
Cause pretty much the he has to endorse the bills coming back to release the money. Without his signature, they don't get the money. So,
So
and nobody's got more familiarity
Yeah,
with
he
what's
does.
going
He
on.
does.
He's taken the brunt of it at this point on all these projects. I think then they've got the only other CPA project would be the sunshade thing at the park, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. I had another comment from somebody who was down there over the weekend, like, what a fantastic upgrade. It's been thanking the townspeople for everything they've done for upgrading Memorial Parks. So, they did say they missed the pool. I'm like, how old are you? I remember being in that.
So we've had inquiries about, Friday holidays.
We should have them.
July 4th falls on a Friday.
Oh, well, they closed anyhow, perfect.
So our
That's not bad.
employee handbook is silent on what to do on holidays that fall on a Friday.
You take them off because you're off anyhow.
That's one answer.
You are the milk of human kindness after you've parted the sea.
Well, if the holiday is on a Friday,
I know.
that's the day you take off, and it happens to be the day you're off.
See, that's the difference. So you've got the 5-day people, like the senior center, the highway department, the fire department.
Right.
They get that day off with pay because it's a holiday on a day. If it was Saturday, Fred, would you get paid for that day?
You're off the day.
That's my point. Now, in the business world, if 4th of July is on a Saturday, we get the 3rd off and we get paid for the 3rd. And I don't know if that happens for, but that's the way
It's
it
not
works.
happened for me, because you're very lucky. No, if the 4th of July falls on a weekend, I don't get anything.
Are you a 5-day a week?
Monday through
employee?
Friday,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm surprised. So
Yeah.
that's how, if it came on a Sunday, we had Monday off. That's the day it's closed. No. So. Are we saying that if 4th of July was on a Sunday, nobody would get it off and nobody would get paid?
Well, if the 4th of July was on a
Sunday.
Sunday,
It's observed on Monday.
they
Take Monday
celebrate
off.
on Monday.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right,
Yeah.
so you get paid and you have Monday off.
Right, that's how we do it here.
Right.
So if it's on a Friday and you don't work that Friday, you're off on Friday and you get paid for it. Or no,
It's a paid holiday,
it's paid holiday.
right, but you don't get another day off.
No. If it falls on a Thursday when you're working, it's a holiday, you get paid for
Right.
it, right?
And you get the Friday off,
Why?
because they close on Friday anyhow.
Well, I mean, there's not, because they don't go, some people don't show up on Friday is what we're saying. Right, Lauren?
So then, can you restate Friday then?
All right, so the people,
Restate Fridays.
the people who work on Friday
People who work on Fridays, yes.
get Friday off and they get paid for it. Because, and this year it's showing up one. This year it's on a Friday, okay,
This is the most imminent,
right.
yeah.
So the people who don't work on Friday get paid for the holiday because it's a holiday they get paid for.
Right.
But you're saying,
But then they're gonna
your
go-
concern is like the people who worked on Friday, got the day off. They're like, so the people who don't work on Friday get an extra day's pay,
They're getting,
And the
they're
other
getting
one's
hours, if they're hourly.
or they're
right?
getting an extra proportional of the week.
Well, let's just say they're 40
Mhm.
40 hours, but they usually do 40 hours in the 4-day
48.
period, so now they get 48, or are they? Now do we pay them for 48 and now we're into overtime? Or
Mhm.
if they're hourly, then now we're paying them overtime for that 48.
Why do they get,
I see what you're saying. If they
I
do,
do,
you're
yeah.
saying if they do a
Right.
4-day work week and a Friday's a holiday, they should, I would say that they're, most likely you don't get paid for that, because doesn't fall within your work schedule. Right? And that makes sense? This is not a holiday if you're off on that schedule.
But they're full-time employees. They're
Right.
full-time employees that are entitled to all legal holidays.
Right, but if they're scheduled 40 hours Monday through Thursday, I think is what Brian was saying, then there would be 8 hours of,
See,
bonus. Would be a bonus.
This is
of
the
extra 8
problem, it
hours.
happens on Christmas,
Right.
typically, all those ones.
Sure,
Well, who works 40 hours in a 4-day, in 4 days?
Well, they're pretty close, but I mean, Lauren, Brian,
So
he's
there's,
not here Fridays.
but I'm salaried, so I don't,
okay.
yeah. So we have a couple employees who work 35 hours a week, Monday through Thursday. So if we gave them 8 hours on that Friday, then that 3 hours overtime. Right, because it'd be 35 plus 8 would be 43.
No, they're not working.
No, they don't,
They're not working, they're getting holiday pay.
holiday pay doesn't count towards overtime.
It does not count towards overtime?
No,
No.
Oh,
no.
okay. So then, we don't have that issue, we still have the
But we also
minor
get,
budget issue that we don't.
well, the budget, but they're also getting extra that the 5-day people don't get. If the 5-day people are getting just the holiday pay, but they're lost out on the regular pay. Basically, they're the day off for getting paid for it, where they didn't get, they're working 40 hours. The other people who worked for 35 hours got paid for 43 hours. And that's, I can't quite describe, but there's an inequity right there in that. Cannot be the only place going through this.
So if you have to work, you get a. Called. If you don't work, you don't get it. So then I go back to.
That's all I am, but that's my job.
We got a week to figure this out, we can decide on the 30th. The only thing we need to know, we're not closing on the 3rd, right?
No, there's no need to close.
As long as
on-
as long as we can tell people that we're not closing on the 3rd.
There's no need to close on the 3rd, right? This is not like shopping before Christmas, if you need to travel to a friend's for the 4th, you take some vacation time,
Take
you
a
take some
vacation.
time, whatever.
Me too.
We're not closing on the 3rd.
Right.
Anything else?
Oh,
What else you got on your list?
we'll figure that out. I'll do a spreadsheet, it'll be fun.
Oh, good.
It'll be fun.
Work with Dan and get a PowerPoint done.
What else you got?
Lots of stuff. No, I think that's good for now.
Great.
We're close on the cable agreement. Insurance is set for fiscal year 26. TWB will be insured on July 1st, in case anything happens to it.
You changing the locks, are you, or no?
Maybe. I'm gonna be meeting over there I'm gonna meet with Herb over there on Thursday again.
You getting
I have asked
ribbon cutting or anything done? or what
I
are you
was
talking
thinking of that,
Yeah.
shouldn't we have some kind of,
Could? Midnight,
well,
July 30th, July 1st?
We can't be up at midnight. A little bit
Yeah,
of
well, he
reason.
might be. 2 AM? 2 AM
That's
for you?
that's when he's getting up though, that's the thing,
wait a
he's
minute
up
when I get
till
up.
then, yeah.
When you get up.
I have asked the police to increase patrols over there, now that we own it, we gotta take care of it better. When it was a school, who cares, but, they will increase their patrols over there.
Lauren?
I have nothing.
Okay, I want to say that I saw down at the celebration the parks did, I thought it was a very nice
Yeah,
event,
it was
the
good.
weather held off pretty well. I saw Don testing the food cart trucks, you signed them.
You signed the permits if you
I
don't
was,
pass.
I was kind of auditioning to be Board of Health Chair, so I wanted to make
Oh,
sure
really?
that
Yeah.
the food was,
Pass the
All
inspection.
all 7 flavors at the Patch Ice Cream place, I mean, seriously. Oh. Under selectmen expenses, really, Don?
Official business,
Yeah.
I'll take 2 of those.
Yeah, right, yeah. Need a receipt. Eric, any comments?
No, just sitting back and observing.
Okay, well, we're happy to have you
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
we
thank
really
you.
I
are.
appreciate that.
I know it's one thing a lot of people talk about. I think the balance on the board, you know, and certainly this is no reflection. Kathy was a very worthy candidate and a lot of experience. I think the balance would have been well served either of you got on, but you're here and we welcome you to that. And I think you'll bring a perspective to things that are happening here in the 21st century. We appreciate that. Right? You probably don't know how to run the fax machine, but that's okay.
Not just yet, yeah.
A what?
What?
What is it?
Don't we still have one?
Yeah.
Yeah, right next to,
So I was
right
told
next to,
One of
right
the
next to,
left.
right next to the telex.
Doesn't get used a lot.
I was told it needed to be upgraded.
Okay,
Telegraph.
all right, so if there's no further action to come before the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Joe moved.
All in favor?
Hey,
Aye. Thank you.
Bill.
Thank you. Welcome again, Eric.
Welcome again, Eric. All right, we're out of here.
Well then.
Okay.
Are we?
Are we out of here yet?
Yeah.